Alright, hey guys, in the last video we talked about the 5 steps to healing digestive issues. Step 1 was focusing on the upstream organs. I said we're going to focus on some more detailed trainings on each one of those specific 5 steps. So we're going to go deeper into this topic of your organs of digestion today. Now, with the organs of digestion, there's 4 that we're talking about specifically: stomach, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. Now, my original intention for this video was to cover all of them in one video, but as I started doing the slides, it started getting too long. I want to keep these videos short. So really, we're going to talk about the first organ in that sequence today, which is going to be all about your stomach function and just how vitally important appropriate stomach function and appropriate stomach acid is to the rest of your digestive system and numerous aspects of your health in general. So your stomach is the first stage of your digestion. And I know there will be people in the comment section saying, actually, it's your mouth. And look, if you want to be technical about it, you are right. Chewing your food, masticating your food, mixing your saliva to break down the starches, that is the true first stage of digestion. But I'm talking about once we swallow the food, the first place that your stomach drops into, the first place that your food drops into is your stomach. Now, your stomach plays a few important roles when it comes to our food. The number one thing is that your stomach's job is to break down protein. If we think about a piece of fish or a chicken or a steak, we need something very acidic to take that steak and liquefy it into amino acids that our body can use for healing, growth, and repair. So stomach is the area that the proteins are broken down. Carbs, fats are the next phase of digestion we'll talk about in future videos with pancreas and gallbladder function. Your stomach should be the most acidic place in your body. We'll go over that. And appropriate stomach acidity is very important to numerous functions of your body, numerous aspects to your health. So let's talk about stomach acid here. If you've heard of hydrochloric acid, your stomach acid is actually not the part that breaks down protein. Your stomach acid's role is to lower the pH in your stomach enough where something called pepsin can be released. We'll talk about pepsin in a minute. If we go to the pH scale here, you may recognize this from chemistry class, or if you have a swimming pool, you may test your water and see a test strip that looks similar to this. On a pH scale, it goes from 0 to 14. In the middle, 7 is neutral, like water, and on the right side of the scale are the more alkaline pHs, up to a very alkaline substance of 14 for alkalinity. On the left side of the scale, this is acidity. And if we go down to like a 0 to a 0.8, that would be considered something like battery acid. Your stomach should be on the very far left side of that scale, a 1.5 to a 2 for appropriate stomach acid. Now that's appropriate. A lot of people are higher than that, 2, 3, 4, and in cases like that, called hypochlorhydria, we're going to see just how many consequences that can have for your digestion. Getting down to a 1 to 2 here for stomach acid is important because that's the pH that pepsin is activated in. And remember, the hydrochloric acid lowering down, the whole job of it to get down to that pH is to release pepsin. And pepsin is the thing that breaks down proteins into peptides. I think it breaks down like big long chain proteins into individual amino acids that your body then uses for healing, growth, and repair. Now, your stomach acid plays further roles than just breaking down your protein. It's very important to sterilize the content of your food. When you eat food, you don't know who prepared that or what's mixed with it, bacterial infections, viruses, parasites. The stomach acid at appropriate levels should neutralize those things, kill it, and making sure that we don't get infections further downstream. Your stomach should be the least populated microbial area of your digestive system. You've heard of the microbiome and all the good bacteria and yeast that should live in harmony in there. Well, that does not take place in your stomach. That's much further downstream. Your stomach does play a role in creating the right pH for your bowels to have the good microbes to grow in them. But your stomach itself should be very, very sparsely, if at all, populated. We need stomach acid to absorb vitamin B12 for good red blood cells, circulation, energy, and make sure that we don't have any anemia issues. And your stomach acid, because the stomach's the first place the food drops into and the acid's produced there, the very next phases of digestion, your pancreas, and your gallbladder. Both of those organs rely on stomach acid to get the signal to turn on and work appropriately. Now, many people, when we think of stomach acid, we get this picture from like drug company commercials and pharmaceutical companies where we have acid filling up like a glass, where we have a stomach filling up like a glass of water with too much acid. And I want to tell you, I know a lot of you watching this may have heartburn, gastritis, GERD type symptoms. I'll address that in this video, and we'll also be doing a future video talking about that subject in more detail. But this theory, this picture here on the screen of your stomach literally making too much acid, it does not exist in reality. I want you to purge this picture from your mind, cast it from your thoughts. It doesn't exist in reality. God did not make a body that's stupid and a stomach that makes way too much acid and fills up, and that's what causes heartburn and reflux and ulcers and things like that. It will sound counterintuitive, but actually most of the time a person has those symptoms, it's actually due to too little stomach acid. It's due to the organ being affected and your protective lining, your protective mucilage and mucus coating in your stomach eroding away. And then in cases like that, even little amounts, minuscule amounts of acid can still cause a lot of pain and damage. So it's not that your stomach's dumb, producing too much acid. Remember, this does not exist. It might be in the commercials, they might show you the pictures for the medications you take, but this scenario does not exist in reality. Now, what are some of the consequences of having hypochlorhydria? Well, the first thing is we're going to have protein malabsorption, so you can't break down the most crucial building blocks for your body are proteins. What drives your immune system, cellular function, every cell, tissue, and organ in your body is the amino acids that break down into peptides. And if we don't have the ability to digest proteins, every aspect of your health will suffer from that. You'll have vitamin B12 deficiency, things like dysbiosis and SIBO, which are overgrown imbalances of unwanted bacteria that produce toxins, and SIBO, which is bacteria growing in places where they shouldn't be, like your small intestine. Those are both driven by hypochlorhydria. The appropriate stomach acid creates the right pH and environment throughout your bowels where the good guys can grow and the bad guys can't get a foothold, the opportunistic bacteria. If that stomach acid is lacking, we have improper pHs, we have improper environments, we have a decrease in the breakdown of our food, which recruits unwanted bacteria to ferment and break down that food, and then that leads to SIBO, dysbiosis, and a lot of bloating, gas, chronic digestive issues. Constipation, we can also add to that list. Going back to what I just said a minute ago about your stomach, the most acidic place in your entire digestive system. Well, it starts off super acidic, then the pancreas neutralizes some of it, the bile from your gallbladder neutralizes some of it, and by the time we get to your colon should still be acidic, but only very slightly acidic. Instead of a 1.5 to 2, like if we go back to the pH scale here, your colon should be about a 6.5, 6.8, just below this neutral zone here. And when you have that level of pH in the colon, it actually helps with the good microbes to grow there, and it also helps with good motility throughout your bowels. So people that have chronic constipation generally have too much alkalinity in their colon. The fats, they don't digest properly, they gum up in the bowels, and things begin to slow down. Appropriate stomach acid helps to correct that process. Other consequences of hypochlorhydria: acid reflux and GERD. Now, I'm going to explain this more in the following slide. This might be something that sounds counterintuitive right now, but nearly every case of GERD, gastritis, acid reflux are due to hypochlorhydria, and not too much stomach acid, but the erosion of the protective mucus layer in the stomach, which exposes the deeper layers of the stomach to damage. H. pylori infections. H. pylori is a type of bacteria that we're finding out does live normally in many people. Over half the population has it, but it becomes harmful when it overgrows its boundaries and when there are certain harmful strains of it called virulence factors. And those will get worse, and the population of H. pylori gets worse when our stomach acid decreases. When we have too little stomach acid, the alkalinity increases. And then H. pylori also further feeds back into that cycle, creating a vicious problem. Decreased immune system function. We need good proteins to drive our immune system. If you're not breaking them down, you will have a decrease in immune function. It will affect your microbiome further downstream. Food sensitivities. This is a huge one. So many people have sensitivities to foods because their foods were not broken down correctly in the first place. And undigested food will recruit opportunistic microbes to feed on it. They produce toxins. Those drive inflammation. They drive leaky gut issues. And then we have autoimmune activity, food sensitivities that are due to what's called maldigestion. We didn't break down our food properly in the first place. Lastly, we have microbiome imbalances. We talked about that. The right pH, the right environment for the good guys to grow is largely driven in the first phases of digestion. And if we have imbalances in our microbiome and we're not breaking down our food properly, that massively increases the risk for autoimmune disease. Now, medicine's answer to stomach acid issues is to provide PPIs. PPIs are a class of drugs that stand for Proton Pump Inhibitors, things like omeprazole, pantoprazole, different medications that suppress the stomach acid. And I'll tell you, if you're a person that has GERD, acid reflux, gastritis, and you take these things and you feel better for the time being, this is like winning the battle, but losing the war. These medications never long-term fix the problem. People require more of them over time. The longer you take these things, they create further damage to the stomach. And it's never like a solution where you take these things and you feel amazing. Usually it's like a Band-Aid type effect where the longer you take them, the things that they even helped initially begin to rear their heads again, and you have to take more of this dose and then other medications. So the answer to this is not to suppress stomach acid, is to heal your stomach lining and to promote appropriate amounts of stomach acid. So PPIs have a very high risk of dependency, and when you try and get off them, it actually causes a rebound type effect. These drugs irreversibly bind to the cells that produce acid in your stomach. So it's not like if you stop taking it, those cells come back to life. They bind to the cells, and the only way your stomach can make new acid is to literally regenerate the stomach's lining and make new acid-producing pumps. Now, when you stop this, the stomach's been suppressed from making acid for so long. When you stop the PPIs, it's like a rebound in the opposite effect where there's no regulation for these stomach appropriate acid levels anymore because it's been suppressed for so long that it produces higher level. It doesn't produce higher levels. It produces normal levels, but when we don't have stomach acid being produced regularly, then the defenses for the stomach lining don't need to be as robust as they typically should be. There's not a thick mucosal lining. We don't have the digestive juices to protect the stomach because the acid has been artificially suppressed by the medications for so long. You try and get off those medications, the acid starts coming back. Now there's no defenses. Now your stomach deeper linings are exposed to the acid, and even a little bit can feel like just tremendous pain, burning, and acid reflux. So, if you are on these things, they have to be weaned off slowly under the direction of your doctor over a long period of time. The best practice is to never start them in the first place. The next best is to wean off of them very slowly under the direction of a doctor who can guide you through this. All right. As we said, stomach acid triggers the stomach to produce mucus to protect your stomach lining. Also, other self-protecting juices that your stomach makes in addition to stomach acid to protect itself, self-preserving juices. Decreased stomach acid reduces the protective mucus layer, exposing your stomach lining to damage, even with small amounts. We talked about this. Look, what are some things that can lower down your stomach acid in the first place? Anybody that deals with chronic stress is going to lower down all your GI function, but especially stomach acid is going to decrease. Anybody that's eaten an inappropriate diet, especially a diet that does not elicit regular acid production, so that'd be more like a vegan, vegetarian diet. Those people are always depleted eventually, especially B vitamins, B12 vitamins. And then when they start introducing animal foods back into their diet, it actually begins to correct some of the stomach issues that they're dealing with in a vegan state. Hypochlorhydria opens the door. This is a big one I want to talk about here. Hypochlorhydria, low stomach acid, opens the door to microbial overgrowths in your stomach. So remember what I said at the beginning of this talk, that your stomach should be the least populated area in your entire digestive system. The stomach acid is kind of a quality control, not letting microbes live there. If it decreases, it opens the door where microbes can begin to take hold in the stomach, things like H. pylori and other bacteria. And then these microbes primarily grow on the sphincters. You have one called your lower esophageal sphincter, where your throat drops into your esophagus drops into your stomach. And then there's an exiting sphincter where your stomach enters into your duodenum, the first part of your small intestine. When the microbes grow on those two sphincters, the sphincters can't close tightly. They open up a little bit, and that allows even small amounts of acid to get through and cause their damage to your lower esophagus where you taste it. You either have the burning, or it can be like a more of a GERD gastritis type issue. So again, the way to correct this is to correct the stomach acid, not to further suppress it. Hypochlorhydria, we said, impairs protein digestion, causing food to sit in your stomach for longer than appropriate. When the food sits in your stomach and it doesn't move on to the next phase of digestion, it sits there in a rotting state. It produces noxious gases that are harmful to the stomach lining. They cause you to burp, have bloating, make you feel like your stomach's very heavy, like the food doesn't move to the next stage appropriately. So again, the thing that liquefies the food and then moves it onto your duodenum for your pancreas and gallbladder to work on it then is your stomach acid. So now that we know the consequences of this, and I will do a separate video. If you're watching this and you have terrible gastritis, GERD, acid reflux, I'm going to recommend these two things for you still, but those cases will also need more supportive type approaches to rebuild back up their stomach lining. We'll do a deeper video on that. One of the best things I recommend, if you're a mild case and you don't have terrible gastritis that's keeping you up at night and keep you on medications, one of the best ways to begin restoring your stomach function is to take an acid. Now, my favorite product for this is called Zypan by Standard Process. When I was sick 5 years ago, this is one of the best products that really helped me to start gaining progress in regards to digesting my foods better, deriving nutrients from it, forming solid stool again, stopping diarrhea. And so Zypan is for stomach acid promotion. You can take 1 to 2 of these per meal. It contains the betaine HCl to help lower down the pH so that your own stomach can release pepsin. But it also does contain a very diluted version of pepsin as well. So it will give you both things. The acid to make your own pepsin, plus providing pepsin, and something called pancreatin. Everybody that has low stomach acid has low pancreas function, and that's because the stomach acid is needed to tell the pancreas to turn on. So while we're working on restoring stomach acid and pancreas function, we literally provide those hydrochloric acid, the pepsin, the enzymes to break down our food while we're trying to get our own organs back on track. So Zypan is what's needed for this, and there's a lot of good ones in the market. Standard Process happens to be my favorite. Now, my favorite product that Standard Process makes is a product called Digest Forte. You can actually do both of these things together. They accomplish the same goal, but they do it different ways. Zypan is for acid and pepsin release. Digest Forte is a bitter herb blend that promotes healthy stomach function, and it promotes gastric acid release, the self-protective juices, and it actually stimulates your pancreas and your gallbladder to work as well. So think of this as more as an all-in-one. Now, bitter herbs were used historically to improve many aspects of our digestion. This product contains bitters like gentian, ginger, feverfew, wormwood, and tangerine peel oil. These things, when your tongue tastes bitter herbs, it sends a signal to your brain to prepare your organs of digestion for food. Your stomach starts churning out more acid, your pancreas more enzymes, your liver produces more bile, your gallbladder stores and secretes the bile. And so improved digestion, as well as improvement to your GI tone. So people have like pain, cramping, bloating, all that gets much better under the use of bitter herbs. And it's also a carminative, meaning gas, burping, bloating, all that begins to go away as well. So this is my hands down favorite product, probably of any supplement that I take. I am never without Digest Forte. Not that I need it regularly, but actually some of these things people would include regularly in their diet, and if we don't, it's good to have them with some regularity in your system. So if you're not eating these foods, people would, in the old days, different tribes would have bitters on a regular part of their week or month. If those foods are lacking like they are in our standard American diet, then taking them in a supplement form can be very helpful to support those areas. Few other things you can do: drinking teas that will support your stomach, ginger tea, wonderful, fennel, chamomile, more reparative things that will help to shield your stomach lining from the harsh acid and begin helping your stomach to promote its own mucilage layers, are marshmallow root, slippery elm bark. And then lastly, a few other considerations wrapping up this section here are you can also promote stomach acid by doing vinegars or acidic things like lemon. You could sip a little bit of apple cider vinegar or lemon water in a glass of water before a meal. So just sip it during the day, especially before mealtime. You could eat smaller, more frequent meals during the day. Don't overwhelm your stomach at once. If it's already not producing enough stomach acid, a big meal is going to really overwhelm it. Think smaller, more frequent meals during the day. And then also, this is huge because Americans are so bad at this. Stop eating at night. So after dinner, let that food digest, go to bed on an empty stomach, and do your best to have appropriate break times in between meals, meaning not snacking all day long, but having a meal, then a rest, then a meal, then a rest. And that really helps your stomach to normalize its function as well. You guys, if you're interested in these products I mentioned here, I will have my link tree linked inside of the comment section of this video. It is under Fullscript. If you've ever heard of Fullscript before, they are a way where you can order supplements online via many different companies under one roof. You simply go into their catalog, type in these names, and it'll pop up there. So I'll have that link beneath here. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.